On May 8, 2026, the newly rebranded Department of War uploaded a 2.4 gigabyte archive to the internet. It contained 161 files documenting unresolved aerial encounters, cases that military analysts and optical physicists could not explain. The public reaction was immediate and chaotic. Within hours, trading volume on prediction markets like Polymarket exceeded $30 million, as bettors wagered on whether the government was about to confirm the existence of non-human intelligence. As the data spread without context, political figures began filling the void with their own interpretations. Vice President J.D. Vance famously framed the phenomena through a theological lens, describing the unidentified craft not as technology, but as something demonic. But while the internet theorized and politicians pivoted, the global open-source intelligence community realized they finally had something more substantial than grainy cell phone footage, raw sensor telemetry, and unredacted field reports. By consolidating these accounts into a single, unsealed repository, the Department of War provided the first dataset large enough to move the conversation from speculation toward technical analysis. To sort through this massive data, investigators utilize a framework known as the 5 observables, a list of specific flight behaviors that violate our current understanding of material science. These include instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocity without heat signatures, sudden maneuvering at high speeds, seamless travel between different mediums like air and water, and low observability. We are going to audit the new files against these known laws of physics to determine which of these encounters represent a genuine leap in technology. One of the most viral clips in the archive was a 2013 thermal video from the Middle East, showing what appeared to be a glowing 8-pointed star streaking through the night sky. Commentators immediately labeled it a biblical angel or a shape-shifting craft. However, OSINT researchers quickly applied optical analysis to the footage. By looking at how the shape behaved relative to the sensor's movement, they identified the object as a common thermal artifact. The geometric star was simply lens diffraction. The heat from a civilian paramotor engine overloaded the infrared sensor, scattering light inside the camera housing to create a false geometric halo. By stripping away these optical illusions, we can focus on the cases where the sensors didn't just malfunction, but instead recorded physics that shouldn't be possible. In January 2024, a U.S. MQ-9 drone operating over the Aegean Sea tracked a diamond-shaped object that appeared to ignore the limits of inertia. The drone's full-motion video recorded the object executing multiple instantaneous 90-degree turns while maintaining a speed of 80 miles per hour just above the waves. Executing a turn like this without a wide radius or a deceleration curve generates massive g-forces. In standard aerodynamics, that kind of instant pivot would generate enough force to shear a conventional airframe into pieces. Then there is the 2023 Eye of Sauron case, where federal agents in the Middle East observed a glowing orange sphere that hovered perfectly in place while deploying smaller suborbs from its central mass. The agents noted a critical Fickespel anomaly. The primary orb emitted an intense thermal signature, yet it produced no jet exhaust and zero downward rotor wash. These verified cases represent a manipulation of energy and mass that entirely eludes current terrestrial engineering. These bizarre vehicle types are not entirely new to the intelligence community. The archive includes declassified documents dating back to 1950, illustrating early technical confusion over reports of saucers purportedly powered by atomic force. The release also validates transcripts from the Apollo missions, where astronauts reported high-speed luminous particles and objects pacing their modules while in lunar orbit. But as researchers mapped these encounters, they identified a persistent modern pattern. True UAP anomalies heavily cluster around the United States nuclear and biological weapons infrastructure. The declassified files include reports from 2023 and 2025, describing glowing orbs actively pursuing military helicopters within the restricted airspace of the Dugway Proving Ground in Utah. By correlating data from the mid-20th century through the present, researchers have identified a persistent interest in our most sensitive installations, suggesting an active, long-term mapping of the American strategic complex. After auditing the data, analysts are left with 2 competing hypotheses for the origin of these craft. The first is the adversarial leapfrog, the theory that a foreign power like China or Russia has covertly mastered mass reduction technology to spoof and bypass American defenses. There is precedent for this. During the Cold War, the testing of top-secret platforms like the SR-71 Blackbird caused massive waves of UFO reports across the globe. The second hypothesis is cosmic modesty, a term used by Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb. Loeb argues that in an observable universe containing 100 billion galaxies, it is a mathematical absurdity to assume humanity represents the absolute apex of technological evolution. Whether the pilot is a foreign adversary or a non-human intelligence, the unpunished operation of these objects in restricted corridors represents a total failure of airspace awareness. While the Pursue release is a major step, the scientific community is still being denied the high-definition telemetry needed to produce a final, peer-reviewed conclusion. The battle for that data is now playing out in Congress, where Representative Anna Paulina Luna is threatening to subpoena the Department of War for 46 still classified, high-definition videos of war zone encounters. The Release 01 archive provides enough multi-sensor corroboration to refocus the inquiry. The question is no longer whether these objects exist, but rather how they operate.